Cheers everyone! Hope you're doing well, and thank you for clicking on this video. Let's get into it. Mount Fuji. One of the most iconic symbols of the country, Mount Fuji is the tallest mountain in Japan, reaching an elevation of 3,773 meters, or 12,389 feet. It's located here, in Shizuoka and Yamanashi prefectures. Although the origin of the name is debated, one of the most popular origin stories is that Fuji comes from Fushi, which means immortal. This comes from the tale of the bamboo cutter, and the immortal medicine the princess gives to someone who loves her. There's a Ghibli movie based on this, and I don't want to spoil it, so go watch it or read about it. Japanese lovingly refer to Mount Fuji as Fuji-san, the san being an alternative reading for mountain, and not, as I was hoping, a way to call Fuji Mr. Fuji. People love to climb up Mount Fuji to see the spectacular sunrise, or just to say that they've done it. I haven't had the opportunity to climb it yet, but I hope to, particularly in the recommended months of July to August, but I am sure I will get a pressure headache. In 2019, 236,000 people climbed Mount Fuji. What do you think? Would you climb it? What if I told you that Mount Fuji is still an active volcano and will probably erupt again? Believe it or not, about 10% of the world's active volcanoes, 111 of them are in tiny Japan. So, are the people prepared? What exactly would happen if Fuji erupts anyway? Alright, 315 years ago, Mount Fuji erupted. So it seems like we're fine, right? Like, we got that out of the way. But if you look at the recorded history, it's actually rare for Fuji to go so long without an eruption. Historically speaking, it wouldn't really be surprising if it were to erupt now. However, there are many different types of eruptions. Fuji is called the department store of eruptions because of the various phenomena it causes, such as lava flows, pyroclastic flows, scoria, volcanic ash, the collapse of mountain bodies, and the eruptions of side volcanoes. This is based on the last eruption of Mount Fuji, the 1707 Hoei eruption, which was a Pliney-Style eruption, which is generally considered the most dangerous type. Let's take a look at what would happen if an eruption of the same magnitude were to happen in Japan today. Alright, what is the first thing to let you know that there's gonna be an eruption? Well, make some noise! Fuji eruption in the year 2XXX. So to begin with, we don't know where exactly the eruption will come from. It could be the summit, or it could be the crater of the previous eruption, or it could be a completely different place. It's hard to make precise predictions when we don't know all the details, so I'll be basing the predictions on what Japan has experienced historically. As you know, volcanoes make noise. If nearby, you should hear the noise as an explosion, but the impact of the eruption makes a lot of noise that our ears can't hear. Shockwaves in the low frequency range, aka below 20 Hz, are known as sky tremors, and they break the glass of nearby houses. If you've ever been to a concert where the bass is like so loud, you can literally feel it, it's kind of like that, except way more intense. After these first sounds, a plume of smoke rises and forms a column of fumes. The height of these fumes can reach up to 10 kilometers into the stratosphere, which is like where planes are. So right away, a bunch of stuff starts flying out of the volcano. And hopefully by this point, you have started hauling ass in the opposite direction. Rocks ejected from the crater during the eruption are known as tephra, and these large rocks can fly with serious force from the crater and destroy the roofs of buildings. Damage is concentrated within a 2 to 4 kilometer radius, but can fly all the way up to 10 kilometers away. In my opinion, however, one of the scariest parts is the pyroclastic flow. This is a phenomenon in which volcanic debris, such as volcanic ash and pumice, as well as steam and volcanic gases, basically make a terrifying avalanche of stuff. The temperature of it can reach over 1,000 degrees Celsius, and for reference, the temperature of a cremation fire is like 800 to 900 degrees Celsius. That's hot. In the eruption of Mount Vesuvius, which is known for destroying Pompeii, about 62% of the remains found were said to be killed by a pyroclastic surge. Pyroclastic flows run at about 100 kilometers per hour, and the wind pressure is so intense that trees are often completely flattened by it. Even when the temperature is not high, the overwhelming ash causes the suffocation of people in its way. So the next issue is lava. On steep slopes, the speed can exceed 60 kilometers per hour, but at the foot of the mountain, it can be less than 100 meters per day. Although we prepared as children, you probably won't need to navigate over any lava. and can probably just run away from it by foot. However, it is hot enough at 1200 degrees Celsius to cause serious fires that completely obliterate any towns in its way. So maybe don't play around too much. Next, one common cause of death or injury during the Hoei eruption was flooding. As you can see in pictures, Mount Fuji is a snow-capped mountain. It's like part of its signature charm. Especially in winter, snow accumulates even at the foot of the mountain. When all of this snow melts at once due to the heat of the lava, water quickly flows down, causing a flood. But perhaps the issue to kill the most people is ash. This ash is like little knives. It's made out of rock fragments and glass. The Hoei eruption also caused a large amount of volcanic ash in Edo, which is now Tokyo. Ash is often lighter than sand and easily travels really far after an eruption, actually floating over a lot of the cities between Mount Fuji and Tokyo just to land on Tokyo. Arai Hakuseki, a Confucian scholar who lived in Edo at the time, described the ashfall in his essay Orita Kushiba no Ki, written around the first year of Kyoho, which is like 1716. He said, "As I left my house, I saw that the snow was falling, and I saw that the white ash was falling. Looking toward the southwest, black clouds arose, and the lightning flashed frequently. There was so much ash at the time that the city became completely dark, even blocking sunlight, and the people had to light candles. The ash also turned to a black color in the evening, which is kind of scary." About 5 to 10 centimeters of ash covered Edo at the time, according to documents, but it's estimated that the actual amount was a little bit less than that. Can you imagine this ash falling on the city of Tokyo today? As you might realize, having a bunch of ash floating around and covering everything is not optimal for one's health. It will cause respiratory diseases for a lot of the citizens of Tokyo. Ash also irritates the eyes, nose, throat, trachea, and lungs. If the ash is mixed with drinking water or food, it can cause intestinal obstruction, poisoning symptoms from volcanic gases, or skin disorders. Animals can also be seriously affected if the ash lands on them and they lick it or otherwise ingest it. If you wear contact lenses, take them out. If the ash gets between your eye and contact, it can cause a corneal detachment, which does not sound fun at all. Alright, so it sounds rough so far. But I'm sure you're thinking Japanese people can just drive away from it all, right? If you're under just 5 to 10 centimeters of ash, surely you can just leave. Well, it's not that simple. With only 0.1 centimeters of ash, driving becomes difficult due to poor visibility. At 2 centimeters of ash, cars can easily begin slipping on the road, or as you might refer to it, Tokyo drifting. You're welcome. 3 centimeters, driving becomes impossible if there happens to be any rain and the ash is still super slippery on the road. At 5 centimeters, smaller or ill-suited cars cannot drive up hills. And at 10 centimeters, most cars will not be able to drive. Regardless, through all of this, it'll be super hard to see, because if you try to wipe the volcanic ash off your windshield with your windshield wipers, the glossy volcanic ash will scrape your window like a nail file, and hopefully your insurance covers that. The movement of the cars will also whip up the ash, like a sandstorm. Even an off-road, four-wheel drive vehicle will not be able to go very far in the chaos of cars. Too bad for all you Jeeps and pickup trucks out there, all like 12 of you that are in Japan. Predictions say that up to 14,600 kilometers of roads in Tokyo, Kanagawa, Chiba, Ibaraki, and Shizuoka will be impassable due to ashfall. Okay, sounds bad, but I know what you're thinking. Doesn't everyone in Japan, take the train? Problem solved! Psych! Both trains and airplanes come to a total halt when there's even just 0.5 millimeters of ash. That seems like basically nothing, so if you look up and see ash, it's over, you're done. There are various causes for this, including the potential for signal malfunctions, abnormal vehicle positioning information, and worker shortages. How's anyone gonna get to work? Volcanic ash is predicted to affect 219,000 passengers per day at 6 airports, including Haneda and Narita. And 1,800 kilometers of train tracks in Tokyo, Kanagawa, Chiba, Shizuoka, and other areas will be disrupted. This disruption also means that the food supply will be affected, which could cause a serious famine. The ash will affect daily life in other ways too, such as entering equipment and causing malfunctions. So this is your daily reminder to always keep emergency water in your home, as that might get cut off too. Also, if the ash flows into the sewage pipes, They may become clogged and sewage may overflow. Big ew. The cherry on top of all of this is that power outages, although not guaranteed, are possible. The extent and duration of any power outages will depend on the amount of ashfall and weather conditions. Luckily, there is an emergency power supply that's expected to last about 72 hours in case of this happening. Finally, as we saw in the 1991 eruption of Mount Pinatubo in the Philippines, when ash and water mix, it creates a nasty sludge. This heavy sludge covers the roofs of buildings and causes them to collapse. And in the Philippines, we saw schools, homes, and a lot of other buildings collapsing because of this. So, clouds of volcanic ash will cover the area. It will be dark, and the ash will keep falling for over 2 weeks. With no internet connection, no electricity, and no way to travel, Tokyo will be warped into a dark desert, the only way out of which is walking. Alright, so the good news. There will probably be over a month's notice to evacuate the area. About 7 weeks before the Hoei eruption, an earthquake, an epicenter of which was in the Nankai Trough, and with a magnitude of about 8.6 to 9 occurred. Following that were multiple smaller earthquakes near Mount Fuji. In the wake of the 2011 Tohoku earthquake, 8 volcanoes, both large and small, erupted. A few days after the Tohoku earthquake, a magnitude 6.4 earthquake also occurred then directly under Mount Fuji. So there probably will be these signs before an eruption of Mount Fuji. Still, however, Mount Fuji has remained silent, except for trace amounts of activity in 2012. We should keep listening for Fuji's warning. His warning, though, may be worse than the eruption itself, but that's a whole nother video. Thank you for watching. Please consider leaving a like and subscribing because it really helps us out. And good luck if you decide to climb up Mount Fuji.